Hello and welcome back to Mama G's Pantry. Today we're going to have a little lesson on sauces. The 5 mother sauces, often called the 5 French mother sauces, because really, if French cuisine brought us anything, it is the best sauces in the world. Now these are known as mother sauces because basically they are the beginning of other sauces. They breed children, as it were. And so today we're going to make 2 of them. We're going to make bechamel sauce, or a white sauce, and we're going to make tomato sauce from my world famous recipe from my husband's old restaurant, Bella Festa. Okay, so the other sauces are, the second sauce is called velouté. And this is basically you take a very light stock chicken or fish and you use a roux, flour and butter mixed together with some liquid to thicken it. And from that, the kind of sauces that are made, you can do white wine sauce, supreme sauce, cream sauce. It's the beginning of your sauces, okay, of your sauces you can use as veloutés. The third one is called espagnole, or brown sauce. And with such a simple name, you think it might be, but it's not. This is the most complex recipe of them all, and it involves making homemade beef stock, couple hours, tick, mixing it with mirepoix, fancy name for diced celery, onions, and carrots, a little tomato paste, and boiling it and boiling it and boiling it. This sauce most commonly becomes demi-glace. You'll see that in restaurants, similar to demi-glace sauce. Once you've spent 5 hours making your brown sauce, you add it with beef broth, boil it down another couple hours, sieve it out, add some butter, and you do end up with the most delicious brown sauce you'll ever have. However, I rarely have 6 hours to make a sauce, so my favorite brown sauce is this one right here. Clubhouse brown sauce. From it, I can add green peppercorns, I could add up fried mushrooms. It's really tasty, and it's vegetarian, my daughter pointed out to me. So that's what I use for brown sauce. Maybe someday I'll make it. Of course, the other one is hollandaise sauce. Butter and eggs, a lot of butter and eggs. And this is an emulsified sauce. So this one you got to get the proportions exactly right, and whisk, 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 or use a blender to get it nice and silky smooth. And of course it's the mother sauce for, say, béarnaise, where you add tarragon vinegar, tarragon, other sauces. Me, when I want hollandaise, I either go down the street and get eggs benedict for breakfast, or, you know what, Mr. Nori here makes quite a good hollandaise, where you add just a whole pile of melted butter. So of the 5 sauces, as I said, 3 of them I don't use a lot, but the 2 that I do and that are the most versatile, I'm going to show you how to make today. So bechamel sauce is named after Louis Bechamel, who was a 17th century French aristocrat. Thank you, Mr. Bechamel. And to begin with, our milk, a 1.25 cups of milk, and 1/4 of an onion, which has been delightfully, I have used 2 cloves to delightfully spear a bay leaf to the onion. Isn't that adorable? Okay, that's going in with our milk, as well as a grating of fresh nutmeg. You can use powdered nutmeg if you do not have fresh, but I do. So there we go. We're going to let that simmer for 15 minutes and let all those flavors infuse, and then we'll go back and I'll show you how to finish it up. Okay, so my milk has been gently simmering with this onion and bay leaf and cloves for 15 minutes. Just going to take those out. Yeah, everything's there. And then I'm going to pour that into my cup measure again, just for ease of pouring into my roux. All right. So in here I have 2 tablespoons of butter melting, and to that I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, which is your basic recipe for any roux, equal parts flour to butter. And then you stir it up, and some recipes, you know, like for jambalaya, or you darken a roux, you make it absolutely brown, and it will go that way. Because this is a white sauce, we don't want that. We just want, you cook it for a few minutes to make sure it's really well dissolved. Kind of cooks out the flour taste as well. It's also a really good thing to use. Say you've made a soup or a stew that you thought would be thicker than it is. You can make a roux by just taking equal amounts of butter and flour, mixing it up in a little bowl. So basically the flour is dissolved into the butter, and then slowly add that to what you want thickened. Stir, stir, stir. Almost bring it to the boil, because that's when it's, you know how thick it'll be, and it'll thicken up what you need thickening. Okay, so our roux is almost done. A minute or two, and start just smelling a fragrance, right? That it's not just flour and butter anymore. It has become a roux. We very slowly start adding our warm milk. Okay. You can use a whisk. As most things, you don't want to get lumps in it. So there we go. Just gonna start adding this. You don't want it to get too thick. The smell coming off this is delicious. I mean, that's one thing about bechamel done this way with the onion and the clove, is that it gives a really, really lovely aromatic sauce. And we're just gonna keep stirring that until it gets nice and creamy and smooth. Now watch it. It looks like I might have boiled away some of my milk. If it starts getting too thick, just add a little more milk. That looks pretty good. And as I say, this is the mother sauce to several other small sauces. Mostly in our house, it's cheese sauce. It's a great way to get rid of all those little leftover pieces of cheese in your cheese drawer. Doesn't really matter what you put in. If you're going to put it on vegetables, you know, not so much. If you're going to make mac and cheese, I usually add a lot more. I add a little bit, because this is a white sauce and I've got it. I add a little bit of white pepper, some salt, to taste, and voila, sauce bechamel. I'll be right back. We're going to do tomato sauce. Hi there. So we're back to make tomato sauce. And I'm going to call this the famous Bella Festa tomato sauce. Some 35, 40 years ago when Doug and I were first married, my nice Scottish husband, decided he opened an Italian restaurant. And thus Bella Festa was born. It was a great time. We had a lot of fun. We were younger, had more energy. And we had this chef named Joe who had come from Toronto. And he was Italian, oh believe me, he swung that linen coat over his shoulder and strutted into the kitchen, pulled his knife on me a couple of times, "Get out of my kitchen, signora." And he left us with a lot of good recipes, but the one I use all the time is this one. It's important ingredient-wise. Let's have a look. What you want to use is La Pavoncella tomatoes. You can make it with anything else. Sometimes I buy expensive San Marzano. In a pinch, I'll use Hunt's or whatever I have around, but to make tomato sauce Bella Festa, it really has to be Pavoncella. There is a difference. These are from Italy. They're Roma tomatoes. They're packed with basil leaves, and they're just lovely. So when we have those, to all things tomato, I usually add a little bit of sugar. Then we're going to fry up some onions and garlic and put it all together. First thing, of course, is how to treat the tomatoes. So I take my Pavoncella, put an apron on, I'm not kidding, this is quite messy. You can see them, and to each and every tomato, I find its bum. That's what I call it. And inside, you can see there's quite a fibrous, in all tomatoes, quite a fibrous piece inside that no matter how long you simmer this, you're not going to get rid of it. I said Pavoncella comes with basil leaves. You know what? I take them out because by the time I finish boiling this down and making it really beautiful red, those kind of go black and it looks weird to me. So there you go. Like I say, just find that little piece there, the bum, take it out, open your tomato, and take out those fibrous bits as much as you can. All right, I'm going to do these 2 cans of tomatoes, and I'll meet you back at the stove for the very simple finish of tomato sauce Bella Festa. Hi there. Okay, so I've squished up my 2 cans of tomatoes, and I mean, got in there with my hands and squished them up at the very end when I think I got all the bums and all those heavy veins out. I still go through. Anything that comes up is often skin or more of those hard insides, and so you end up with sort of a uniform looking deal here. You can also make this with 1 can of tomatoes, and it takes less time. When the kids were still at home, you can buy La Pavoncella in tins that big, and I used to make it with that, my great big Dutch oven. And the thing is, tomato sauce as a mother sauce is so versatile, right? And it keeps really well. It'll keep in the fridge for a good week to 10 days and in your freezer for months. So today I'm going to make a bit of a bigger batch so I don't have to make it again. So I've got it kind of on a medium-high heat. Now over here, I have fried up in a goodly amount of olive oil, I would say 2 or 3 tablespoons, some chopped onions. It also needs a bit of garlic. And as you can see in the background, my husband used all the fresh garlic for his slow cooker pot roast. So I'm just going to use this stuff. You don't want to brown them, you just want to get them translucent. And then you add that in there. The olive oil, Joe just said, it just makes it better. You gotta have quite a bit. And then, as with most tomato recipes, I like to add a little sugar because tomatoes are fruit and it just brings out fruitiness. And by the way, my recommended brand of olive oil, and I use this for everything, pretty much, is Samarelli. I buy it at the Italian Center. I think IGA might sell it as well. It's a little expensive, but it's really, really worth it. You can use something cheaper for if you're not eating it directly or it's not something you're going to eat a lot of, like this. Okay, now we're just going to let that come to the boil. Little S&P, of course. Now for this recipe, because I've been putting all my, either the link to the recipe or the ingredients below, as you can see, this is a recipe I have made thousands of times, and I kind of just estimate it, but I think it always comes out the same because I always use the Pavoncella tomatoes. And at this point, it's gonna come to the boil. I'm gonna turn it down and bubble on the stove. It's probably gonna take about 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. You almost want it to reduce by half, and it's gonna turn into a really dark, delicious red. And as I said, the little children of this mother sauce, pizza sauce, lasagna, a million pastas. One of our most popular one in the restaurant was pasta puttana. I have a request in to make that for Connie out in BC. So once my tomato sauce is made, perhaps in another show, I'll show you how Bella Festa made its pasta puttana, whereas the whole neighborhood called it hooker pasta. That's it for today, folks. We've made 2 of the 5 mother sauces. I think the 2 most useful and just a wonderful thing to have in your repertoire and have in your kitchen at all times. Thanks. See you later.